The real estate market can be quite complex, and it can vary from region to region. You need a professional, experienced team that can help you navigate the real estate market and achieve your goals. Find Dan Gemus and his team online at dangemus.com. Now, back to the Dan Gemus Real Estate Show.
All right, one more segment to go here on the Dan Gemus Real Estate Show. Joyce, you've got the screen. We're going to give away the gift card for the Richmond Popcorn Company. What do you got? You have a name there?
I do. Congratulations, Robert Groves.
All right, Robert, congratulations. Enjoy the popcorn from the Richmond Popcorn Company. The studio will be in touch with details. Okay, so next up, we've got Christian Janisse, a real estate lawyer, on the phone with us. Hey, Christian, how are you? Oh, Christian, are you with us?
Yep. Can you hear me?
There you are. We got you.
Hey,
fantastic. We're talking about my watch is talking to me here. So we're talking deposits today.
Yeah, which is a whole can of worms. Specifically, this topic is about the amount of the deposit. So,
okay.
When you sign a contract, real estate contract, obviously you have to provide a deposit. There can be issues with respect to timing, but I want to talk about the amount. So as the buyer, obviously you're incentivized to lower the amount because you don't want to give as much cash up front.
Right.
As the seller, you obviously want to maximize that amount. Few things, though, obviously you have to negotiate and you do want to show good faith. But as the buyer, you need to consider that the amount of deposit that you're putting down, if there's any issues with respect to fulfilling the conditions and the seller doesn't agree to have that deposit released, or they put the real estate brokerage on notice that there's going to be a dispute, the buyer may have to wait to get that deposit back. So, for example, if you have a $20,000 deposit and the agreement's conditional on your house to sell, but you never list it, the seller's going to say, well, you didn't fulfill the condition because you didn't list it. Therefore, the deposit's not going to be released. You've acted in bad faith and breached the contract. And as the buyer, if you're going to go try and look for another house, you now have $20,000 less cash to use, right? The seller, on the other hand, you want to maximize the deposit, but you actually don't want to maximize it too much, because if the deposit becomes too excessive, which is about 15% of the purchase price, the courts actually view that as a down payment towards the purchase price rather than a deposit as security for performance. So they'll say, let's say you're buying a house for $400,000 and you say, I'm going to put down a $100,000 deposit. If you say, okay, buyer backed out, they didn't get financing, we weren't able to close, we're going to keep that deposit, the buyer can bring you to court and say that deposit amount is way too excessive for the seller to keep.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the general rule of thumb is about 15%.
We haven't seen, that large deposits here in Windsor-Essex for the most part. Up until the market went crazy, starting in whatever it was, 2020, 2019, we would typically see a $1,000 deposit.
Yep.
What we saw here in Windsor-Essex. So
yeah, I was going to ask you about that. As the prices have gone up, have you noticed that the deposits have gone up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, Aaron's there.
Yeah.
Hey.
Because I'm starting to see, I see a couple that are like 20,000, 30,000. Depends on the price of the home, but even as I start to see more buyers coming down from Toronto, they tend to also put down larger deposits. And I think it's likely due to the fact that the agents are doing their due diligence, saying, hey, if you're going to have an out-of-town buyer come down, we want to make sure that they're serious about moving here.
And I think it has a lot to do as well with the fact that, go back 4 or 5 years ago, and folks didn't have as much of as much equity in their homes as they do now, as the market has climbed so fast and their home values doubled, right? So someone's selling their home and they've got a whole bunch of cash burning their pockets, so to say, right? So it's easier for them to put a larger deposit on the purchase when that comes up, I think, is also might have something to do with it too.
And I think within the last few years, a lot of buyers were they had smaller deposits, they were willing to let them go because it was more just that was the cost of doing business in terms of
easier to walk away from if something's going sideways, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and now that the market's a little more stable, I think people are asking for larger deposits. The prices have gone up, so naturally the deposit should go up to account for that. I think it's crazy to put a $1,000 deposit on something that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars, but hey.
Well, truly, again, before this market went crazy, we never ever had issues with closings or people not closing. That was never an issue back then, right? So as obviously the market went crazier, things turned around a little bit and we saw a bit more issues. But before that, we truly, my career, 10 years, plus back then, I'd never seen an issue. So the market switched and people looked at it differently, right? I think that had a lot to do with it.
Yeah. So I just think that buyers should be a little more aware in terms of making sure that they're not putting out so much cash that if something were to go wrong, they're not going to be able to buy another house or deal with it if in the event that there's a dispute. And then sellers, on the other hand, you want to maximize it. But if you try to get too aggressive, you could be shooting yourself in the foot by not being able to retain the deposit because it will be viewed as being excessive in relation to the damages that they've suffered.
Listen, Christian, how does everyone reach out to your team if they have any questions?
They can email us at hello@simplyclose.ca, or they can give us a call at 519-997-3775.
Fantastic. Thanks as always.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Christian.
Janisse, real estate lawyer with Simply Close. And again, you can find them online. Just Google Simply Close. It comes up nice and easy. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to us as well. We're happy to help and connect you with Christian and his team. Mm-hmm. But that's it for the day. Can you believe how fast it's gone?
Flies by.
Holy moly. If you have any questions about anything you heard on the show, if you have any topic ideas, you can always reach out to us as well. Shoot me an email, dan@dangemus.com, or find us online at dangemus.com and get a hold of us through our contact section. You can call the team as well, 519-566-5565. for a free home market evaluation. Again, 519-566-5565. And we're always happy to come out. We service all of Windsor and Essex County, everything up to this side of Chatham. Yes. So we're all over the place. And
love traveling.
We love traveling. That's what we do for a living. You can find all of our listings on our website as well at dangemus.com. Okay, so that's it. Joyce, Aaron, thank you for coming today. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody. Hope we get some rain today, and we get some water on those fields and our grass and plants, and we'll see what happens. Okay, well, lots more to come. We'll be with you again next weekend from noon to 1 here, Saturday and Sunday on AM 800. See you then.